Hello students. Today we'll be discussing about the digestion of carbohydrates. Now till date we have been discussed about the different kinds of parts of the digestive system, the digestive canal, and also the accessory organs. Now, how the food gets digested within this system or within this canal will be study about that. We'll be studying about that in this video. Now, carbohydrate, as the name suggests, is divided into carbo and hydrates, which is the hydrates of the carbon, or it is also known as the sugar and the saccharides. Now, there are two types of sugar that we get often from our diet that we take. Number one is the simple sugars consisting of the mono and the disaccharides, and the complex sugars which is consisting of the oligosaccharides and the polysaccharides. Over here, saccharides means sugar, mono means containing single unit of sugar, di means containing 2 units of sugar, oligo means containing 2 to 10, more than 2, less than 10 units of sugar, and when it is polysaccharide, it is more than 10 units of sugar. Welcome to Educators, myself Manjishta Chatterjee. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe my channel. Now, as you can see over here, we can see this girl eating lots of food. Now, I'm not going into any discussion whether these foods are junk food or good food, but what I will say is that from all these foods, the main thing that the girl is getting is carbohydrate. So either we take carbohydrates in its simple form or we take carbohydrates in its complex form. Now, if you can see this pie chart, we can see that we have this whole grain section. This is the fruits and the vegetable section. These are the milk section. So, maximum of these is carbohydrate. So, either we are taking simple carbohydrates in the form of milk, cheese, fruit, vegetables, or we are taking complex carbohydrates the in means of whole wheat, whole grains, etc. So now today we will learn about the digestion of these carbohydrates. That means we know that carbohydrate is energy rich food. So how we are getting this energy? We are getting this energy after this carbohydrate is being digested, absorbed and metabolized within our body. Now, what is the digestion process? The basic process of carbohydrate is to convert all complex carbohydrate to the simplest form. So now let us see in the next slide. So whatever form we are taking the carbohydrate in, it can be in the form of sugar alcohols, disaccharides, oligosaccharides in the form of raffinose, stachyose, or polysaccharides, starch, glycogen. Starch is again divided into amylose and amylopectin, fibers, cellulose, hemicellulose, whatever, in whichever form you are taking the carbohydrate, you have to convert those carbohydrate into these three: glucose, fructose and galactose, for them to get absorbed in your body, further get metabolized in your body and giving you proper kind of energy that is required. So now how all these carbohydrates are converted into glucose, fructose and galactose, we'll be learning about that. Any kind of digestion, whether it is carbohydrate, protein, fat, any kind of digestion has the main these five process or stages. Okay. Now, first is the mechanical process or motility, which increases the motility like swallowing, chewing, or the chemical digestion we can say. Okay. So teeth, tongue and various muscles starts or process the journey in case of any nutrient that we'll be talking about. Next is secretion, which is very important because without the secretion of the chemicals or the digesting enzymes, digestion will not take place, propulsion will not take place, and definitely there will be improper digestion. Next is the digestion, where the complex molecules of nutrients are being broken down into simple form, followed by absorption. As I've mentioned, that once we break them into the carbohydrate uh, simpler or the monosaccharides, then it will be absorbed in our body, and the undigested food particles will be unabsorbed and it will be eliminated as the feces. So whatever digestion process, whichever nutrient we are studying, we have to follow these 5 stages of digestion. Now coming to the enzymes which are involved in the digestion of carbohydrate, basically we have to break these macromolecules and into micromolecules, and they will be traveling through our digestive system, and further or at last it will be absorbed into our bloodstream. Now this digestion process, in any form, you have to convert it into glucose, galactose and fructose or monosaccharide for absorption. So basically there are these kind of enzymes which are involved, which we will be learning in detail in the next slide. The amylases, the alpha amylases, we are getting alpha amylases in 2 stages. One is in the salivary alpha amylase and the pancreatic alpha amylase. Basically all amylases, alpha amylases, they are hydrolyzing the 1,4 glycosidic bonds. Okay, so we know that the carbohydrate, one carbohydrate is attached with another carbohydrate with either 1,2 glycosidic bond, 1,4 glycosidic bond, or it is attached with 1,6 glycosidic bond. So in starch, both 1,4 and 1,6 glycosidic bondages are there. So whenever we are taking starch in the form of cereals, in the form of vegetables, wherever we are taking starch, starchy foods are being taken, the amylases, they hydrolyzes the 1,4 glycosidic bondages, and they form maltose, maltotriose and some limited dextrins. Okay, there's a broken form of the starches. Now these maltose are acted upon by the maltase enzyme. Sucrose is acted upon by the sucrase enzyme. Okay, and lactase, trehalase, sucrase, they are all breaking down the lactose, trehalose and sucrose respectively to monosaccharides. So lactase degrades lactose to glucose and galactose. Ultimately we are getting the monosaccharide. Trehalase degrades trehalose to glucose, and sucrase sucrose to glucose and fructose. So we are either getting the glucose, or we are getting galactose or fructose. So these are the main enzymes which are involved in digestion of the carbohydrate. Now over here we are showing 2 kinds of the uh, main sites, you can say, where the digestion takes place. Number one, digestion takes place in the mouth. Okay, so carbohydrate digestion starts in the mouth. There is a mechanical breakdown of the food, where the solid foods are being chewed and masticated using the salivary glands and also the tongue and the teeth. So with the teeth we are breaking the food into smaller granules, and it is further masticated to form a bolus which passes through the esophagus. We know this process, the mechanical part. Now what happens, the salivary gland, the sublingual, submandibular and the parotid gland, they secrete the salivary amylase. Now when the salivary amylase is secreted, it mainly um, as I told you in the previous slide, it mainly acts upon the alpha 1,4 linkage, okay, and it breaks down food into simpler form. In case of starch, about only 5% of the food is being um, digested or yes, digested or broken down in the mouth. It is good at one side, because if starch, when it's broken down, and too much of sweet can lead to cavity. So if it is more staying with your in your mouth, so it can lead to cavity. So what happens, this saliva coats the food particles, and the salivary alpha amylase enzyme, they break the 1,4 glycosidic linkages and passes the food down. Now, when it passes the food down, it moves to the stomach. But amylase cannot act in the stomach because of its high acidic medium. So, as stomach has the HCl, so it is not basically acted upon, or any kind of digestion process does not take place in the stomach, and the action of the amylase enzyme, the salivary amylase enzyme to be specific, is not more in the um, stomach because of the same high acidic medium. But what happens in stomach, the food is broken, the food is churned completely, and it is further broken down into smaller particles, smaller size, and chyme is formed, a liquid kind of liquefied, or modified carbohydrate is formed in a liquid form, which is known as the chyme. This is very important because when this acidic chyme passes to the duodenum, and the it in the duodenum, the alkaline medium is there, and it is converted to the alkaline chyme, then the pancreatic amylase enzyme and the other enzymes, as I was saying, that the sucrase, lactase, the compound specific enzymes, they start acting on the um, carbohydrate molecules that is coming on from the stomach as chyme, and the sucrase acts upon the sucrose, and it breaks down into glucose and fructose, lactase to lactose, then maltase to maltose, and then everything is converted into glucose, fructose, and galactose. Okay, now coming to the next slide. Over here we can, this is the carbohydrate digestion in a nutshell, you can say, where we can see that in mouth, chemical and mechanical digestion begins, and salivary amylase, they help in breaking the polysaccharide chains into smaller monosaccharide or disaccharide chains, which are further digested in the um, pancreas, in this small intestine, in the pancreas, from the pancreatic juice in the duodenum. Now, stomach mechanical digestion takes place. As I've said, that no chemical digestion takes place in stomach, but mechanical digestion takes place, and the chyme is formed. Small intestine forms the major portion of the digestion takes place in the small intestine by the release of the pancreatic amylase, and then the brush border enzyme helps to convert these large large chain carbohydrates into simple sugar, which further gets absorbed into the bloodstream. Large intestine acts basically on the dietary fiber, which are not being digested in the small intestine. So what happens? They produces certain byproducts, such as short chain fatty acids also, and also some gases, and the remaining fiber, which is not being absorbed or not being digested by the large intestine's bacteria, it is being excreted as the feces. So in a nutshell, if you can say, in mouth there is dietary carbohydrate, we are eating that, and salivary alpha amylase is acting upon the polysaccharides dextrin, sucrose, lactose, maltose. Stomach, there is no chemical digestion that is taking place, only the mechanical digestion takes place. Then the pancreatic alpha amylase acts upon it, Then we are getting the monosaccharide, glucose, fructose and galactose through active transport, that is going to the bloodstream. So absorption we'll definitely learn again in another video. Maybe the next video will be on absorption of carbohydrate. I hope you have understood the digestion of carbohydrate. Thank you so much. Stay tuned with educators.